the end of the Lenten season, and of course the festivities of the Easter. Femi Ojo is my name, but today, Easter or not, the first official working day of the week, I now welcome you to Morning Spring, where we look into everything that matters in this nation, nationally and subnationally. And today will be a very exceptional one. We look through the papers, the front pages, and of course, we get talking about these issues. I'm excited, and I know you are very excited, to have joined us today, either on the channel 190 StarTimes DTT, or on the move on the internet through our YouTube page at Western Spring TV. And I'm not alone. That is excited. Daniel is here. Good morning, Daniel. Happy Easter.
Good morning.
Well,
Happy Easter, of course.
Very well.
We are still in the mood of Easter. A lot of people are still on holidays. So a lot of people are relaxing at
it's
home.
Holiday. Sometimes I get to forget if actually there's anything holiday because of the kind of work that we do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You don't get to put your mind because we have a duty, and that's why we are here. How was the festivities for you?
Oh, great. Great. Filled with activities here and there. So it's quite an interesting one. A lot of people, at least for those who are still relaxing, lounging at home, I say, keep enjoying your holiday. Happy Easter to you. And again, welcome to Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. Here we bring you the best. As always. So always expect to get the best from us. And apart from that, a lot of things have been happening over the weekend. A lot of, politicking, political calculations and permutations and all that. Talking about the PDP, the governors, some people in the PDP, some big wigs in the PDP happen to be endorsing the president, who is an APC president. For instance, Akwa Ibom governor, a state that happens to be a PDP state, right from the beginning, endorsing President Tinubu for second term, talking about Eno Umo. And of course, not only him, some other people as well, but the party, I think they should deal with it. Some calculations are going on. Even in the case of the coalition, for instance, the CPC, there are fears that the CPC might leave, the CPC bloc might leave the APC. And you cannot win an election without the North. So if the CPC should leave the APC, that may spell doom for them. So a lot of calculations going on. Some people are saying, that there might be a merger between the top flag bearers for the Labour Party and the PDP during the 2023 election. That's talking about Atiku Abubakar and Peter Obi, that they might actually come together. Some permutations are saying they'll come together for 2027. In a case where Atiku will actually run for a term, it will serve a term only, while Obi is the vice. Then later Obi will now, become president. All those calculations going on. But again, supporters of Labour Party will say, why would Obi choose to run again as vice president? We've had Atiku Obi before. Why can't we have Obi Atiku? But we all know that Atiku wants to be president. And again, it is quite clear now, and you can quote me anywhere, that Atiku is leaving the PDP. It's quite clear. It's no longer a question of if, but when. Atiku is actually leaving the PDP. So hoping to form a coalition, maybe join the SDP or CPC, taking whatever the case may be. So that's what will definitely happen. So much permutations going on there. And if you look at the candidates themselves, look at their strengths. For someone like Peter Obi, he won in Lagos in 2023. Lagos happens to be a stronghold of the APC. A stronghold. So for Obi to beat Tinubu in Lagos, scoring 582,000 votes compared to Tinubu 572,000 votes. And some people will still argue that those results were rigged, that the margin was actually quite wider than that. So it shows how strong he is. Then again, look at the top three candidates. Look at Tinubu winning with 8 million votes, Atiku winning with 6 million votes, 6.9, and Obi with 6.1. 12 states for Tinubu, 12 states for Atiku, and of course, 12 states for Obi if you include the FCT, that's the Federal Capital Territory. So 3 of them are actually strong candidates. But as it is now, a lot of permutations and calculations are going on for 2027 election. But that's not my concern, Femi. My concern is the state of insecurity in Nigeria. Why people are dying every day. Politicians don't seem to care. All they care about is what they get next. All they care about is who gets power in 2027. Majority of the politicians in Nigeria are preoccupied with 2027. The question is, where does that leave the citizens of Nigeria who are suffering? That's a big question.
And of course, that will be the talking point today. And before we hit the brakes, you know, never say never in politics. You know, the governance of the PDP made their position known last week. Said they are not interested in any merger. So, by inference rather, you get to know, possibly that's sending a message to Atiku that whatever you're planning, you know, you're on your own. Don't take us along. But then, who says, are you sure that something might not just happen? You know, it's their business. They know how to handle it. But the one that concerns us right now, and just before that, you've seen familiar fools all of a sudden shedding the swords, and they are coming together because they have a mission that they want to carry out. That is, you know, sending President Tinubu away from the Aso Villa. It's just a common interest, and it's always about interest. Now, is it the interest of the people to serve the people, or power grabbing? These are some of the issues. But while they are scheming, aligning and realigning, they need a nation to govern. And that is why the issue of security is on the burner. But what has happened in the last 2 weeks across the state of Benue, in Borno, in Plateau, and different parts of the country, you know why? Nowhere is really safe, so to speak. You know, but then the figures of casualty from different parts of the country differs, and maybe that's why the eyeballs are fixed now. The impact of the military intervention in all of these, the police in all of these, even a retired general of the Nigerian Army was kidnapped. And his colleagues had to crowdfund for him to be released after spending almost 2 months. These are the things that bother us. It seems the politicians are not preoccupied with that. And most of the times you see them, many of them have visited Plateau, and it's about whatever they are saying that you can preempt. It's a cliche. You know, we will do this, perpetrators will be punished, and all of those things. And another one is people are asking, where's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu? You were told, we were told that it's supposed to have returned by shuttle, you know.
They said after the Easter break.
Before, now they gave a day to say that after today is Monday, from France to UK, from UK, it's expected back in Abuja. We wish him all the best. Now, the issue that happens when president or whoever is in charge goes away from the country, especially people that have that toga of, you know, the health conversation around them. Same thing happened with Buhari. Almost every time, now and then, in less than 3 months, the guy is always back, or the Baba, you know, respectfully speaking, was always in the UK for either his private visit, working visit, whatever. We're told President Tinubu's own is on a working visit, and we have been told, oh, he's working wherever he is. We wish him all the best. Now, tongues are beginning to wag about his own health condition again. But then, Nigerians have the right to know, because he's no more a private person.
Absolutely.
He's a public office holder being taken care of by the public fund. So if Nigeria, and by the way, I'm not sure it's a bad thing to be sick. We are humans. Anybody can be sick.
Absolutely.
But Nigeria might not want to know what's happening to me. I'm a private citizen, or yourself. I've not been elected into office, but the numero uno, and the people keep saying, where is he? Is he because he's sick? Whatever the permutations or the conspiracy is, by the end of today, we will know either we'll be back or not, or whatever is happening, we will get to know. But then we have a nation to run, and everybody must be very responsible, you know.
Absolutely. I'm talking about the presidential villa, Femi. Bayo Ononiga released a statement about the weekend, stating that, well, that some people, there's been some false reports in some quarters that the vice president was actually locked out of the presidential villa, that he couldn't gain access to the presidential villa. So Bayo Ononiga is saying that that's not true, that those reports are malicious. That is not true, that there were some reports that some military men barricaded the gates and didn't allow the vice president gain access to the presidential villa. So some people are actually speculating that there might be some rift between the president and the vice president. But Bayo Ononiga has released a statement saying it is not so.
Quite unbelievable.
Again, and this again bringing to the front burner the fact that a lot of people from the northern extraction are quite dissatisfied with the way President Tinubu is, running the government. The ACF, the Iowa Consultative Forum, they've spoken out that they are not concerned. Now, if this is happening, some will say there's no smoke without a fire. But again, who knows? So a whole lot of things playing out right there. It's just about policies, like I said, a lot of political scheming, calculations, permutations. But again, we have left the real issues. I ask again, look at APC and PDP. That's not, all this political scheming is not really my concern. What we should be asking ourselves as Nigerians is, what does the APC stand for? What does the PDP stand for? Can you go to a place and say, oh, this is an APC governed state. Oh, this is what they stand for. Or this is a PDP governed state. Look at the difference. This is what they stand. What are their ideologies? The truth is, there is nothing. We can't really see what these parties stand for. What most politicians are interested in is just grabbing power, retaining power. That's all. And it's quite unfortunate. Now we have the case of insecurity in the country. And it's not being given the attention it needs. And we do hope that our politicians, our leaders, rise to the expectation this time around.
If they won't give it, we won't follow that suit. We have that constitutionally backed responsibility to look into all of these matters. And then whatever the party A to party Z, if they have a responsibility to give, as far as keeping the territorial integrity of this nation together is concerned, they must do it. From health to education, policy, the direction of the country. Of course, trust us to be on this matter. We'll look into all of these. That will be after now. Good morning. Stay with us. All right, so we'll be starting the headline segment with The Punch, a newspaper. The Punch, quick look at the front page, has this interest boom. 9 local banks generate 14 trillion naira from loans. Interest boom, 9 local banks generate 14 trillion naira from loans. And with a rider, how banks profited from lending in 12 months amid economic pressure. Money must be made, and it seems they are making the money. And below that, you have the picture of Pope Francis during the Easter Mass, and Obi et Obi, message and blessing to the world as part of the Holy Week celebration at St. Petersburg in the Vatican on Sunday. The Papa there, who has been, indisposed for some time, he has made a public appearance again. And of course, some other insight of this picture. There is one that he was in a motorcade, and there is another one in which people gathered at St. Petersburg to hear the papal message. Now, we're from the State Police off agenda as NEC meet Thursday. Why? You have the detail from the front page of the Punch. State Police off agenda as NEC meets Thursday. And beside that, judgment analysis. Report me to LPDC. Falano DS Wiki. Judgment analysis. Report me to LPDC. Falano DS Wiki. All right. Away from that, indebted the risk losing homes, says the federal government. Indebted retirees risk losing homes, says federal government. Why? You can pick up a copy of the Punch for that. Top street rather. Emergency. PDP governors get Supreme Court hearing date this week. Emergency. PDP governors gets Supreme Court hearing date this week, and presidency pushes back as Bakari Kuka criticized Tinubu's policies. All right, in the Easter messages, the respective Easter messages, Pastor Tunde Bakari and of course Bishop Martin Asan Kuka in their homily actually gave messages, that speak about the lamentations of the people and the plight of the people and how the government needs to do better. In fact, Pastor Bakari specifically called out President Tinubu to stop playing God, in the way he runs the country. Let him be humble and handle, the situation in the country. Now, there is a pushback, expectedly so. Presidency pushes back as Bakare Kuka criticized Tinubu's policies and killings. Shettima visits Plateau today as Danjuma calls for self-defense. And of course, T.Y. Danjuma, the retired general, has always been. He has a different opinion. In fact, he believes there is a calculated attempt to wipe out people of those regions, has always called for self-defense, rather. And then Shettima, that's the vice president, is visiting Plateau today, and that Plateau has been a hub of visit for politicians, for governors, for many of them. Some of them did like 2 weeks ago. Just a week later, there was still another killing. You are going there now. So what happens after you might have left? Just below that, power crisis. Federal government turns to banks for $23 billion lifeline. Power crisis. Federal government turns to banks for $23 billion lifeline. That'll be all from the Punch.
From the Punch newspaper, we move to the front page of the Nation newspaper. Plateau, Benue killings, state police back on front burner. Plateau, Benue killings, state police back on front burner with a rider. Issue may return to NEC agenda this week. Senators developing legal framework. I'm talking about state police. So we've been talking about the insecurity and in some parts of the country, especially the northern part of the country, Plateau, Benue, and other states. And now we're having the issue of state police. We've been talking about this. How long do we have to talk about it? What exactly is being done? So let's see. It might be in the agenda for this week. So let's see what happens. I think concrete decisions should be made. If you really want state governors to take responsibility of the security in their state, then you should give them state police. It's just logic. It's quite logical that if you want to hold someone accountable, let the person be in control of security forces in the state until we have that. But in a situation whereby attacks are going on in the states and the governor is seemingly helpless. I mean, it's quite unfortunate when you see governors in Nigeria crying out, we are losing ground to terrorists, and the governors are just seemingly helpless. So let's just hope that this state police issue is settled once and for all. Away from that, still on the front page of the Nation newspaper, to the top strip now. Ponzi scheme influencers risk imprisonment. Ponzi scheme influencers risk imprisonment. With the rider, sanctions await bloggers. So when you promote Ponzi scheme in Nigeria, you should be careful. You might just, face some sanctions right there. Moving away from that to other stories now. Ship owners list expectations on $400 million cabotage cash. Ship owners list expectations on $400 million cabotage cash. DHL suspends high-value delivery over Trump tariff. DHL suspends high-value delivery over Trump tariff. Find a story on page 6 of the Nation newspaper. Poor telecom services threaten virtual businesses. Poor telecom services threaten virtual businesses. You find that on page 20, of course. A lot of people conduct businesses online, but when telecom services are poor, of course, sometimes, when you're trying to connect, you're trying to have a meeting via Zoom or Microsoft Teams or whatever it is, you'll find glitches here and there. And of course, it's affecting businesses everywhere across Nigeria. Away from that, Tinubu, Chiani meet soon over Nigeria-Niger ties. Tinubu, Chiani meet soon over Nigeria-Niger ties. With the rider, Tuga signs agreements with Nigerian counterpart. Tuga signs agreements with Nigerian counterpart, talking about strengthening bilateral ties with the Republic of Niger. Away from that, Tinubu's appointments most accommodating, says Omokri. Tinubu's appointments most accommodating, says Omokri. One begins to wonder, is Omokri speaking for the APC again now? Is he speaking for Mr. President?
You know what happened with Omokri before the election? The change of tone after the election of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. In fact, many persons are saying whatever reign Omokri is looking for, they hope he gets.
Absolutely. But it's quite worrisome as a point, Femi. Is Nigeria becoming a one-party state? a lot of people are defecting to the APC just because they want power. Just because they want to keep their positions. A lot of people. Imagine a PDP governor making such statements, and the party is quite worried. It's quite unfortunate. A lot of people.
I'm not sure the party is worried.
They should be worried.
Why should they be worried? It's different from the party is worried. Does the PDP appear to you like they are worried? No, they are like serious.
Then the nation, the citizens should be worried. God, we can't have a one-party state.
Well,
because when one party has taken everything, I mean, it doesn't give the citizens options.
Let the so-called nation, organize themselves to be the opposition as well.
And look at the one
instead of just being worried. Well,
absolutely.
People can take action. Now, if you don't want a one-party state, then get your heart into the ring.
But it's quite unfortunate. I think a lot of people are moving to the APC out of fear of losing out. Look at Delta State, for instance, my own state. A lot of defections to the APC. Recently, the Delta Unity Group, DUG, defected to APC.
Who are they? Who are the DUG?
I mean, a lot of people.
I'm not saying people will under any guise.
No, let's talk about the big wigs now.
Yeah.
People like Senator Ned Nwoko, who has defected to the APC.
Yeah.
Now, see what's playing out. The governor himself, Sheriff Oborivori, who is originally PDP governor, we understand he has plans to defect to the APC.
We should not preempt.
Now, Ned, no, listen, the big wigs are saying it. Ned is saying, no, Sheriff, stay where you are. We will defeat you in PDP so that APC will take over Delta State.
As far as I'm concerned, we wish them all the best.
It's quite unfortunate. It's all about
and if
politics.
People are worried. I think that's the only point I got to make. Like the APC, is the in thing. That's the way it always is with the ruling party. Maybe what we are seeing now is just an extension of what has always been. At the glorious days of the PDP, everybody was tending towards the center. In fact, that was why they had to collapse the other parties to wrest power from the PDP, because the individual parties were almost non-existent at the time. ACN couldn't pull anything apart from Lagos. AMPP, the influence were waiting strong. CPC, with the leadership of Buhari at that time, were producing nothing. I think they only had one or two governors, I think in Kebbi and other states, actually. So they couldn't do anything with the PDP until they came, collapsed their structures, merged, and formed what is known as the APC. So I mean, for me, it's not new. But then if anybody is worried, let them organize themselves. We still have less than 2 years. I mean, like 2 years to the elections.
Absolutely.
And INEC do the right thing and then form a coalition. If everybody will be worried, and all we do is just commentary, then we have no business.
It's quite unfortunate. You know, some people would say some opinions in some quarters. Give it to President Tinubu. We know he's a strategist. And now some people are saying he's actually, using some insiders to destabilize some parties. Again, some will say, oh, what if he's giving all these governors from other parties deals? If you want to keep your position, just support me, that's all. I remain at the center. You keep your state.
A politician
just
will do what he has to do. I'm not sure it's the business of President Tinubu to allow other parties to flourish. Logically speaking, it's not his business to strengthen your party. Absolutely. If people are blaming him for destabilizing their party, why can't they organize themselves?
Absolutely.
Organize themselves to destabilize his own party. So why are people blaming the APC for all of these things?
Absolutely.
That's simple as that.
Away from that, moving to other stories on the front page of the Nation newspaper this morning. Pope Francis seeks end to global conflict. Pope Francis seeks end to global conflicts. With the writer, Khan, Methodist prelates, Kuka, reflect on states of nation. And finally, from the front page of the Nation newspaper, the bottom strip now, Arewa think tank backs Sule's position on president's re-election. Arewa think tank backs Sule's position on president's re-election. And that'll be all from the front page of the Nation newspaper this morning.
All right, we just have a quick one from The Guardian for today. The Guardian, before we hit the break, because we have a long way to go. A quick one from The Guardian. Despair in Benue Plateau as killings hit over 248 in 3 months. We'll look into that because of the program. And then who are these people and what has caused the loss of these lives? And banditry in Zamfara, in Kaduna, in many places, in Ondo, in Oyo. You have police-shiite clash in the FCT. Courtesan, that one is a nationwide thing, but predominant in Ogun State. You have Biafra separatists across the southwest, the southeast, and the agitations there. Then Boko Haram, with the issue in Borno and many parts of the country as well. High cost, other court, 62% of internet across Nigeria. And Baba Ahmed says no Nigerian can be president without North. All right, we'll get a look into that because of the week. The U.S. gives quick notice to international students with cancelled visas. A lot going on in the U.S. And ACF blames Nigeria's woes on corruption, nepotism, and bad leadership. That will be all from The Guardian. If you can just take the next paper.
Okay, very quickly, we look at the front page of the Sun newspaper. Kuka gives damning verdict on insecurity. Kuka gives damning verdict on insecurity. With the writer, says Nigeria reaching breaking point, gradually becoming national morgue. Quite unfortunate, a nation becoming a national morgue. You find that on the front page of the Daily Sun newspaper today. Moving to this top strip, Pastor Bakari blasts Tinubu. Pastor Bakari blasts Tinubu, says President Motopack politics has destroyed National Assembly. That's Pastor Tunde Bakari right there, saying President Tinubu's Motopack politics has destroyed National Assembly. Quite interesting talking about Motopack politics. You might be wondering what exactly is Motopack politics. I think you should ask Pastor Bakari. Away from that, controversy surrounds $700 million cabotage vessel financing fund. Controversies surround $700 million cabotage vessel financing fund. Away from that, Alia Okpebolo, Khan, Northern senators preach forgiveness, faith, resilience, unity. You find a story on page 6 of the Daily Sun newspaper. How greed, regulatory lapses fueled 1.3 trillion naira CBEX heist. How greed, regulatory lapses fueled 1.3 trillion naira CBEX heist. With the rider, we are not sleeping. That's according to SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission. Away from that, Serap sues Tinubu's government over ban on Idris Abdul Karim's song, Tell Your Papa. Serap sues Tinubu government over ban on Idris Abdul Karim's song, Tell Your Papa. We mentioned that on this show some time ago. Now, Serap has actually filed a suit against the federal government for banning that song. They see it as an infringement on the rights of citizens of Nigeria. Finally, from the front page of the Sun newspaper this morning, Kanu's family raises the alarm over campaign of calumny against him. That's according to IPOB, the indigenous people of Biafra. Kanu's family raises the alarm over campaign of calumny against him. And that'll be all from the front page of the Sun, Daily Sun newspaper this morning. And that brings us to a conclusion of the newspaper review segment of Morning Spring this morning. We'll take a short break. When we return, the program continues. Stay with us.